Yes.
How did you come to that realization? What about the type 3 were you like, "Oh, this is me?" And was there any, like, battle with any other type?
Well, it's funny you say that because actually, I'm going to start backwards. And I'm going
Okay.
to say, yes, there was a battle with other types. And the reason why, I guess, for me, my story, the reason why there was a battle is because when I first got introduced to the Enneagram, I got introduced to the Enneagram in the way of someone, they told me what my style was, right? So they told me, hey, here's how you show up. And at that time, I was doing some of the other assessments, and I was also really big into astrology. And so they felt that I was a really good candidate for this tool called the Enneagram. And they introduced it to me, and they were like, "Hey, here's this book, and you should read it. I think you would really like this tool. And by the way, you're a nine." Um,
Oh.
yeah. And so I was like, "Oh," and they told me, all the things about the nine, but they're like, read it, but nines, they want to be peaceful, and so I read the nine, and if anyone knows the traditional way of, when you're reading the nine, you know, the nine when they're using the traditional terms of healthy, when they're striving and they want to be in that three space, right? And so I was like, oh, so in my mind, I was a very healthy nine because I love getting things done, and I wasn't in that sloth space that typical nines can be in. And, when they're not in their great space. And so that's where I was like, all right, there we are. I'm a nine. I'm a really healthy nine. And and so I did that. But if you know the three, I can't settle with just knowing this. So then I did open the book and read all the types. And then the nine just did not make a lot
Mm.
of sense for me, right? It was, and for me, if you think about the old way of doing the Enneagram, which was, hey, read all the types, and which one punches you in the gut, which one makes your gut kind of tighten up when you think about it. And well, which one just makes you uncomfortable? That's actually the way I think I would look at it. And the one that made me uncomfortable every time was the three. Like I resonated with it, but I didn't want to own it. Right? I didn't want to
Mm.
own, and the part what I didn't want to own was the fact that I cared about what people thought about me.
Mm.
Because all my life that would be something that I would always say that I didn't care about, right? And that Shakespeare adage of, thou protest too much. That was me, because I would always say, I don't care what people think. Um, but I really do. I was about to say I really did. And honestly, if I'm being honest, I will say I still care what people think. I don't put as much weight on it anymore, but I still care about that. I still, come into a space, and I think about, okay, how am I affecting the space, and how am I showing up, and how are people experiencing me, right?
Mhm.
And so that's always there for me. It's always, did I give them the experience? Did I give them the experience that I wanted them to have? And in some ways that's healthy because I can step back afterwards and say, okay, you know what, as I'm reevaluating that situation, I did not show up as my best self. And here's where I could have been different. But what I don't do anymore is I don't let that weigh on me a lot, right? Like I engage with it, I acknowledge it. It's kind of like the military. Our motto in the military, in the army, was um, overcome, adapt, and move forward.
Mm. How very 3 of you.